2, the NBA Finals, Game 1, film review. Make sure you're following on Twitter at ScoutWithBryan. Let's take a look in particular at three big keys that I really focused on in this game. Things that Golden State has to correct and has to do a lot better if they want to have a chance in Game 2 in Toronto. First and foremost, a complete lack of urgency on their part, particularly in transition defense. What Steve Kerr really talked about, how many transition points they allowed, how many second chance points. You saw a lot of plays like this. Jordan Bell's guarding Siakam in the corner. Long shots usually mean long rebounds. Okay, they didn't get it. Now, what do we have? Steph's guarding Siakam. Draymond Green, is this your playoff intensity? First game of the finals. He's walking around down here. So what's going to end up happening is Draymond Green and Jordan Bell are both going to end up right in the middle of the paint, waiting to go help. We don't really need both of you there. We need somebody to guard Marc Gasol, who's a very capable three-point shooter right from the top. Shot goes up again. Draymond, first responsibility, protect the paint all the way back, protect the basket. Can't allow Danny Green 5 minutes into a playoff game to get a transition layup. Everybody, as a team, wasn't locked in from the start. Look at this. Steph's tying his shoe. All right, you can ask the ref for permission, and maybe if he sees you, he'll slow it down a little bit. But this was a lot of time where Steph didn't even let him know. So we have Danny Green unguarded on an inbounds play, meaning guys have to rotate, meaning Steph ends up matched up on Siakam, which is a pretty clear mismatch that he takes advantage of. Almost nobody was ready to play from the start of this game. And then we talk about building a wall in transition. First thing, get back, build a wall, turn around, see the ball. Not doing it. Not doing it. Looney, get in the stance, get down lower. Clay, see the ball. Kyle Lowry, transition layups in the first quarter. Just not acceptable. They got killed in transition baskets. Here we go again. This is basically transition. Again, responsibility right here, wall up. Make him see bodies. Siakam, Lowry, both of those guys, Kawhi, everybody will attack in transition if they don't see bodies. Kevon Looney, his job is to be right at the free throw line, down in the stance. He's not there, so Lowry's going to attack right through that gap. Get to the basket for 2 more free throws. This is off a made basket. Another theme. Draymond scores. How do we have Siakam running right down the middle? Klay Thompson was the guy who Siakam was guarding a lot. Golden State didn't want to match up that way. But Klay, you're going to have to get back and recognize sometimes that you can't be stopping the ball in the back court. First responsibility is get back, prevent the layups. This right here is doing absolutely nothing. Jumping for that ball is fake hustle. Way too many baskets after made field goals. Iguodala airballs this one. I want you to watch now how Jordan Bell sprints back. Is that a sprint right here? Nope. Is that a sprint by Steph? Nope. Siakam, you can look. How Toronto stopped Giannis is a big part of how you have to play Siakam. Their games are very similar, honestly, in transition. Take a look at my pinned video up top if you didn't see that, but maybe Golden State should watch that because they did not do a good job at all getting bodies back, making him see a wall. Draymond being in a stance right here, starting in the paint, then getting out. Too late. If he sees these gaps, he's going to keep attacking, keep getting to the rim. Look what Steph sees at the other end. Right after, Siakam falls down, so he's the only guy kind of lollygags back. Lowry's in a stance, stopping the ball. Gasol's in a stance, ready to help. Kawhi comes over. Steph still scores because he's pretty darn great, but they made it a lot tougher on him. And then we're still going. This is the same quarter. What are we doing? Some of these attention to detail, sense of urgency, again, after a make by Steph. Iguodala walking. Bell walking. Come on. This isn't acceptable intensity for a preseason game, much less a playoff game, much less an NBA Finals game. We had Kawhi running right down the middle. Steph recognizes, I don't want to guard Kawhi. He's kind of big for me. Clay, come guard him. Clay recognizes late, eventually comes over. Kawhi gets deep position. 2 more free throws. Missed shot. Clay almost looked like he was high at points of this game. As good well as he played offensively, wasn't even that great, but come on. First priority is the ball. Turn around, see the ball. Steph's over here. Livingston's over here. Somebody's got to turn around and stop the basketball. Everybody's got their back to the ball right now. Siakam's going to drive it right at Draymond, create a wide open corner three. That's a 9-point game right now. 7 minutes left. That's your playoff urgency. You kidding me? After that, Toronto, to their credit, great defensive game plan. A couple really, really good things I want to point out. Kind of reminded me of the Clippers game plan against Golden State, actually. Really force everything inside the three-point line. You see Lowry call this top blocking, top siding, trying to make sure Steph, everything stays inside the three. And then even when they do catch it, you'll notice a lot of times in their route running out to these guys, they are not running out at this angle right here. They're not coming up this way where the guy can still get a three. They're coming up, chasing, pretty much exaggerated at the three-point line so that Klay has to put the ball down, and the shot that's open ends up being a floater runner. That's not a high percentage shot for him, or anybody for that matter, really. The other thing Golden State needs to do a lot better, again, talk about the lack of urgency. There's a lot of overlap with this right here. Again, 4 minutes into the game. Draymond, Iguodala, ball's down the court. Steph's going to run a side pick and roll. Toronto's got 4 guys back here. They ended up getting 2 on the ball. That's what you want. That's perfect. If you're Golden State, you want them to put 2 on the ball. Because now, theoretically, you're supposed to have 2-on-1, 3-on-2, whatever it is. But the problem is, Golden State's guys aren't down the court. They're playing 3-on-4. So even with 2 on the ball, they're still at a disadvantage. Where's Draymond? Where's Iguodala? Come on, get down the court. Get to your spot. Nobody's where they're supposed to be. Everybody's walking. Iguodala's hiding. Eventually, Bell takes it hard to the basket. That's another thing you're going to see some. The big men have to be aggressive. They have to stay attacking. That was one area Golden State did have success, and they need to stick with. Another thing you'll really see a lot of, too, the only guys they're respecting McKinney, they're respecting Klay, obviously, Steph, obviously, Quinn Cook. But other than that, Draymond, Iguodala, any of these guys are outside the three. Their man is ready to bump cutters, ready to take these guys away. Because Golden State does such a good job hitting the post, cutting hard, cutting to the basket. So whenever Klay thinks he has his man beat, Siakam's just going to stay right there, tag him. Pass goes to Draymond, who's wide open, but they're not worried about that. They're not guarding him out there. Klay keeps moving. It's a reasonable look, but that's what Toronto will live with. You see it again here. Just how locked in they are. Showing Steph bodies. Then Golden State loves these kind of pinch screens. Whenever Draymond has the ball, you see Steph, you see Klay all day running off these pinch screens. The one thing, they did mess up a lot, Toronto. They gave up the slip a decent amount because they're so concerned about Steph. Looney, you got to go up stronger and finish that. And then if you miss it, transition defense. Jog. Draymond's already on the ball side. He's already got the big. Looney, your job, run weak of the ball. Run weak side. Why? Because there's nobody over here. And now McKinney still does what he's supposed to do. Stunting at the worst shooter and staying with Powell. But that's still too good of a look to Siakam to give up in transition. You see again, Iguodala, they're not really guarding out there. And then when Klay has a tight curl, these are the tight curls where he gets a lot of his mid-range shots in rhythm right here. Siakam's going to take that away. They'll live with this pass back to Iguodala, live with him taking threes. Really good game planning by Nick Nurse and the Raptors. And then this was, again, something they had success with, whether it be Iguodala, Draymond, Jordan Bell. This was an after timeout play Steve Kerr drew up, I think specifically to take advantage of this. Watch how tight, again, they're guarding Steph and Klay. Basically on top of them, so concerned about them that nobody's going to notice when Iguodala basically just does a simple rip through and attack. These guys have to be aggressive because Toronto doesn't really have any help. They're so worried about the shooters coming off. Nobody's really seeing the ball. Iguodala gets an easy dunk. Same exact situation right there. Draymond has to be aggressive. You see what a good job they are, how physical they're being with Klay, how Lowry's staying on top of Steph, forcing everything inside the three. And then you see again just the attention that they give these guys, even coming off handoffs. Even Iguodala here is not a shooter, but Draymond with the fake handoff, attack. These are the plays Golden State's got to find more often offensively to find things. And then Steph and Clay, they did still get going a little bit. They got them going, coming off screens occasionally. Occasionally Toronto would mess up this switch. Couldn't exactly figure out if they wanted Kawhi to keep chasing or Lowry to switch there. Ended up getting some wide open looks, some execution. Golden State can do it. This possession, this was a great possession where Steph got a great contest at a corner three. McKinney got a great rebound. And then look at this pace compared to the first half when I talked about two guys lollygagging in the backcourt. This is pace. This is Draymond pushing the ball. Steph setting this little back screen for Livingston. Hard cut, great pass, layup. That's Golden State's identity. What did Toronto do to keep them away from that identity? You see again here, after a made free throw, I love this part of the game plan too. Golden State, as good as Steph is, as good as Draymond is, they don't really have a true point guard. So Toronto had Van Fleet up on Steph a lot. They had Danny Green or whoever was guarding Thompson up to put pressure on him full court. You see Clay even there calling for a screen. He doesn't like being pressured full court. Neither does Steph. They really made them work, made things tough on him, took time off the clock. Eventually Clay here ends up pushing off, getting an offensive foul, and then a tech to top it off. You see the angle kind of again of forcing it inside the three. Watch Steph here. When he gets Siakam with a behind the back, again, normally the angle would be from here to here, drifting up to cut him off. They're not doing that. Instead, watch as Siakam really drifts back to the three-point line just to make sure that Steph can't get the three off. So when Steph looks up, he can't really release, and Siakam's right there, ends up having to put it down again, getting to his floater, which he didn't shoot particularly well in this game. Speaking of Steph, his pick and rolls, they did a great job on these two. Gasol did a great job being up, being aggressive, again, really selling out to take away the three, and then you saw their bodies being there, like Siakam is here. And then Golden State, once again, talk about getting guys down the court. This is 2 minutes into the game. Iguodala, at least, is in the right spot, cuts through, gives him some space, but Draymond being up here does nothing. Gets to their spot up, set screens, move. Hiding back here is not doing anything. It's just allowing Toronto to clog it up and have a lot of bodies ready to contest Steph. They did give up a few second chance points, offensive rebounds. That was almost Golden State's best offense. You see Gasol icing the pick and roll here, keeping it on the sideline. Up and aggressive again. If there's any weakness of Steph, I've talked about, as good as he is, as great, phenomenal, all-time shooter as he is, he's small. We know that. They did a great job putting four hands on the ball. Any pick and roll with him, you see Van Fleet's hands up. You see Gasol's hands up. Even Kawhi is in the way a little bit. He's tiny. He can't really see everything like Iguodala basically being open here. He tries to jump up to get this left-hand hook pass over the top. Gasol gets a hand on it. Steph's going to push off, get a loose ball foul. Again here, another example. When you're up, aggressive, at the level of the screen. This is what Gasol was doing all night. At the level, Steph a lot of times is going to jump early, try to get rid of it. Gasol does a great job getting his hand on the ball, nice and clean, forcing a jump ball. And then a lot of people ask me, why didn't they run that Draymond-Steph pick and roll that you talked about in the video I have highlighted up at top? Well, they did try it a few times, but Toronto did a great job. They'd have Leonard on Draymond a lot. They had Siakam on him a decent amount. That wasn't a great mismatch, to be honest. These guys were able to just stay back, and if Kawhi is able to stop Steph's penetration and force this throwback to Draymond, they'll live with him catching it all the way up there. I would expect to see more of that side pick and roll with Steph and Draymond in Game 2, but they did a great job once again. Here you see Siakam's guarding Draymond, so when Van Fleet gets picked off, guarding him full court, which will happen, Siakam's down low in a stance, ready to stop the ball. So even when he hits Draymond in the pocket, Draymond gets a running head start, but look who's there, our guy. I talked about again in my video what makes Toronto so good, what's their identity, how did they knock off Milwaukee? Kyle Lowry stepping in, taking charges, best in the league, doing just that. We see it again here. Look at this just lack of spacing. Andre Iguodala, Draymond, these guys got to get down the floor. Kyle Lowry, I think he's guarding Iguodala here. Look what ends up happening. He's not guarding the screen setter. That's Gasol right here. But Lowry's able to jump to Steph. Gasol's able to jump to Steph. Everybody's there. Look how many bodies he sees. These guys are wide open. Once again, they don't care about them shooting. Golden State will do a great job, like we said. Here at least, they keep moving. They keep cutting. They move the ball, extra pass. That ends up getting blocked, though. Great team defense by Toronto. The solution, really, to me, Steph's got to split some of these pick and rolls. He's got to hit here as a handoff, get it back, come off with speed, and then right here, attack this gap right in the middle. Go for the split. Because when he gets these, again, 4 hands on the ball, they're basically trapping him at the end of it. This is when he doesn't do so well. Doesn't have great vision seeing over this. Turns the ball over pretty often. And then icing on the cake. Again, Siakam did a great job all night guarding Klay. Look at this right now. Klay's out ahead of him. Watch what happens. Who wants him more? This is the NBA Finals. You got to go all out. That's not good enough. Make sure you follow on Twitter at ScoutWithBryan. Make sure you thumb up. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Let somebody know, please. Tell somebody at ScoutWithBryan, ScoutWithBryan.com. And if you can, support on Patreon, which will pop up right about here. I'd really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your continued support. Look forward to talking to you for Game 2.